Okay, so the first thing in the second part I want to talk is the aggregation function. So in the SQL, you can utilize the aggregate function too. So if you do some data analysis in Microsoft Excel, there are multiple functions you can utilize, right? Something like a count, sum, average, min, and max. So you can use these functions in MySQL too. How to use it? It's very simple. So on the select statement, you can simply put the aggregation function and open and close parentheses, and inside the parentheses you can put the column name which you want to do aggregation, and then you can specify from statement like what you did before. So best way to see how this works is actually through the exercise and the example. So now let's say that we want to count how many parts are in item class HW. So again, in the product table, which is part table, we have a product information, and we want to know how many products belong to item class HW. Then we can use this aggregation function. So for this one, basically what we want to do is that we can start with the select statement again, and then we can put the aggregation function. In this case, it's a count. So count everything from part table, and we can use a where statement. So we want to count only when the product belong to item class. HW. So item class should be HW in this case, like HW, and finish the query like this. So if we go back to our MySQL, basically we can design this query. So select count. Yeah, we have to use the aggregation function. Everything from part table where item class belong to HW, and semicolon like this. So if I click writing icon to perform the query, then result is here. So it gives the number which is a result of aggregation. So there are basically 4 products in our part table which belong to item class HW. So that's how you can utilize count aggregation function in SQL. And next, the summation function. So we can also utilize that. So if we want to find the number of customers and total of their balance, we can use the summation and count function together actually for this. So the first one information we want to know is the number of customers. So we can use a count for this, and the total of their balance. So there are multiple customers. We simply want to sum up all of their balance to know what is the total balance. So how much money these customers have been paying to this company. If we want to know that information, for this one we can use a summation aggregation function. So for this, it's simple. So we can use the select statement again and use the count aggregation function. So count everything and summing up balance of customer from customer table in this case. All the customer information is there. So we can design this SQL query for this question. So yeah, let's type it here. So select count and sum balance from our customer table like this. So if I click lightning icon, yeah, here is the result. So there are 10 customers in our database, and sum of their balance across all the 10 customers is $2,944.8 basically. So that's it. So that's the answer for this exercise. Okay, let's go to the next one. So average, maximum, and minimum. So I simply show how this way also works. find the average, maximum, and minimum balance of all the customers. So we have a 10 customer, and among those 10 customers, we want to calculate average, and we want to know what is the maximum balance and what is the minimum balance they have. Then we can use the same thing. So we can use the select statement, and we can specify these things. So first of all, average, balance, and then maximum, balance, then lastly minimum, balance, like this, from customer table. And yeah, that's it. There's no any condition to give, so that's it. So again, we can type this in the MySQL to see how this works. So let me go back to the MySQL here. So we start from select, average, balance, and we also want to know maximum balance of them and minimum balance of them from customer table. So if we click lightning icon again, here's the results. So average balance of across all 10 customers is $294.48, and maximum balance is 908 point something, and minimum balance is 10.75 like this. Okay, so that's how you can utilize the aggregation function basically. Let's go to the next one. So this time it's the group by. So grouping. So this is a kind of a new thing. So grouping will basically cause a select statement to produce one summary row for all selected rows that have the same value as specified in the column on the group by. So what this means is this. So we talked about aggregation function. So using the aggregation function, we can summarize information. But let's say that previously when we use aggregation function, it summarized the information across all the rows in the table. However, we want to show aggregated value based on a certain group information. So for example, earlier in the part table, we had a product information, and each product belongs to a certain item class. So let's say that we want to do some aggregation for each item class. So there are certain products belong to each item class, and for each item class we make a group, and for each item class group we want to do aggregation. Then you can use group by statement basically. So the syntax is the format is basically this. On the select statement, you specify aggregation function like earlier, and at the end you use group by a statement, and you specify the column name which you want use as a group. So again, for this, you can additionally put having statement. So if you don't use aggregation, you had the where statement. So if you put where statement, you can specify a certain condition for each row. And for group, you can also have a condition. So in this case, we can put the having statement. And if you put the having statement, then the condition will be applied on group. So basically for where statement, condition will apply on individual row. And for having condition, the condition will be applied into each group. So so where statement will be used for when you're not using aggregation, and having statement can be used when you contain aggregation. So basically, the statement is simple. So having statement will look like this. You can specify the column and condition operator and qualifier just like where statement. So you may use having condition when there are multiple groups and you want to choose a certain group to show, not every group. Then you can use having statement. So again, the best way to understand this concept is through the example and exercise and the practice. So let's go through this exercise together so that you have a better understanding on how this group by having statement can be utilized. So first of all, the group by, So let's say that we want to find the number of products for each item class. So again, the same example. Earlier in the part table, we have multiple product information, and there are each product belongs to a certain item class. And we wanted to know how many products belong to each item class. Then here we can use the group by, and we can make the item class into different groups. So for this question, we can start from the select statement, and we want to know number of products, right? So the aggregation function we can utilize is the count. So first of all, I want to show the item class, because for each item class, we are calculating this information. So item class, and we want to show how many products is in each item class. So I can use the count aggregation here like this. And all the information is in the part table. So I use a from statement and specify the table name part. And then I use the group by statement in the end, and I specify the item class. So basically, I make group based on the value inside the item class. So in the item class, you remember we had a 3 group, right? HW, SG, and AP. So for each of this group, we are going to calculate this aggregation. So that's what this query is talking. So let's put this in the MySQL, and let's see how this works when you perform it. So you can start with the select item class and count aggregation from part table, and use group by statement and group by all the information based on class item class. And then if I perform the query by clicking this writing icon, here is the result. So there is HW item class, there are 4 products, SG 4 products, and API item class, we have only 2 products like this. So that's it. So that's how you can utilize aggregation function together with the group by statement. Okay, next one, the having statement. So this time we want to list item class that has at least 3 different types of products. So based on our earlier results, this query will list only HW and SG as a result. So that's what we want. We want to know which item class has at least 3 different products. So for this, we can use the select statement first, and we want to know item class. So we show the item class from part table. So we have to still use group by, because for each item class, we want to know what has 3 different products. So we have to use group by operator on item class. And then at the end, we can have the having statement, because we want to know only item class when there are 3 different products. So here we specify that. So having, so group should have basically, and I can use the count. When we count it, it should be at least 3 or more than 3, like this. So basically, you by using having statement, you are able to give a condition on the aggregation function. So that is the main point of using having statement. So let's type this in the MySQL, and let's see how this works. So select item class from part table grouped by item class, and use having statement and say that the number of products there should be bigger than or same as 3, like this. So if I click this writing icon, okay, so only HW and SG will be shown here as a result, because only 2 of them has more than 3 products in our database. So that's it. So that's basically all about aggregation and group by and having operator, which you can utilize when you use aggregation, basically. And the next one is multi-table query. So far, when we talked about all the SQL statement and the query, I only showed a single table query. So we utilize the information stored in one table. But because it's a relational database, so one table is related to another table by relationship. So we are able to utilize multi-table. And if you want to utilize multi-table, then you have to use the join concept. So join is kind of a concept in the relational database, and it's a process of combining data from multiple tables. So if you use join in the MySQL or other relational database system, then it will match data from two or more tables based on the same value in the columns you specify. So basically it's this. When two tables are connected by the common field, right? Hong Kong ID in this case. So person has a passport or not, and each passport should belong to one person. So we have this one-to-one relationship, and Hong Kong ID field is connected together. And here it's primary key, and here it's foreign key. So that's how the relationship is created. So when you use join, basically, we are trying to match the data based on this common field, which is primary key and foreign key. So in this case, person table will look like this in the database system, and passport table will look like this in the database system. And we are using this Hong Kong ID field to match our data. So key has this passport, and Timon has this passport, and the Junfei doesn't have any passport in this database system like this. And when you use it, so basically this is the concept. This is the concept of join in the relational database system. And when you use join, there are different types. The most common one is inner join. So basically, if you use inner join, it will return the load. So basically, it will return the data only when there is a match between two tables. So for example, in earlier example, for this one, key has a match here, right? So same Hong Kong ID. Timon has a match here, the same Hong Kong ID. But the Junfei doesn't have any match because there's no matching Hong Kong ID in the passport table. If you use inner join in this case, the results will be like this. So Hong Kong ID 123, the information from the person table is displayed, and the matching information from passport table will be displayed here. So we have one result. And in the second row, we based on Hong Kong ID 456, we show the matched person information and match the passport information. So that will be listed here in the second row. And that will be it. The Junfei's information will not be shown here because there is no match in the other table, which is the passport table. So if you use inner join, basically, only when there is a match between two tables, the list will be shown as a result of the query. And there's also left join or right join. So if you use left join, basically it will return all the information from left table, even though there is no match. And the matched row will be shown additionally. So something like this. So in this case again, so Junfei didn't have any match on the passport table, but his information will be still listed as a result because his information is shown on the left table. So other information is the same, and the last information we list Hong Kong ID 999 and the information from the person table, but there is nothing in this part because there is no matched record. But this information will be still returned as a result of the query if we use left join. So all the information here will be returned first. So right join is basically same as the left join. Only the difference is that all the information from the right table will be returned and the matched information from the left table will be shown additionally. So that's the only difference. And also, when you use join, I mentioned that it will be matched based on the common field, right? Hong Kong ID in this case. So whenever you use join, you have to mention that which field will be used to match between tables. How to do that? You can use the on operator basically. So on the from, so basically the a syntax of a multi-table query is like this. So if you use join, you will use this kind of query. So you specify select, and then previously you only listed the column name, right? But when you use a multi-table query, sometimes you have to put table name and put a dot, and you have to show the column name. So you have to do that when the same column name exists in both tables. Then if the same column name exists in the both table, then the MySQL does not know which table it should retrieve the information. So you have to specify the table name first, and then put the dot, and you have to put the column name. So of course, that specific column name only exists in one table. You don't need to do that. And then on the from statement, here is where you specify the table. So you specify table 1 and table 2, and in the middle, you specify the join type. It could be either inner join, left join, or a right join. And then you specify the on, and you specify the matching foreign key and the primary key. So basically, you specify how you are going to connect these two tables based on the foreign key and primary key, like this. So let me show you some example here. So this is a multi-table query example. So let's list the number and name of each customer together with the number and name of the sales representative who represent the customer. So if you remember our relational model from this order system earlier, it's something like this. So we had a customer table and we had a sales representative table, right? And they were connected by one-to-many relationship. So for each customer, there should be corresponding one dedicated sales representative. And for each sales representative, they can manage many customer. I think it was this, at least one or something like that. So it's a one-to-many relationship. So for each customer, there will be dedicated sales representative, and we want to show that information together when we list the customer information. So that's the main question here. So how to solve this question? We start from the select statement again, and we list customer number and also customer name, right? Customer name, and together with the number and name of sales representative who represent the customer. So next one is sales representative number. A sales representative number exists both in customer table and also in sales representative table. So you have to specify which table you want to bring the information. If we are going to match these two tables, either table, it doesn't matter where we bring this information, but let's just say we want to show this information from sales representative table, and there is sales representative number information, and then sales representative person name. This only exists in sales representative table, so we don't need to specify table name in this case. So here, you have to specify table name. That's important. And then we use a from statement. Here we specify the table. So customer table. We use inner join with sales representative table like this. And use on operator here, and we specify how these two tables should be joined. It should be based on customer tables foreign key, which is sales representative number. SR number, yeah, should be same as the primary key of sales representative table, which is again sales representative number, like this. So that will be the query we can design for this question. So let's try this in the MySQL first. Okay, choose this. Okay, here. So let me type this. So we use select customer number, customer name, sales representative number, and SR name. Okay, yeah, like this. From customer table, inner join with sales representative table, like this. Based on primary key and foreign key, which is customer table's sales representative number and sales representative tables sales person number, like this. Yeah, that's it. So this is how we can design a query for this exercise. So if I click lightning icon, here will be the information. So basically 10 customers will be listed here, and the dedicated sales person who's assigned to them will be listed after each customer. So customer number 1, Adam Sally, his representative is number 3, Mary Jones. And for this guy, Tom Daniels, his representative is William Smith, like this. So that's how we can utilize multi-table query in MySQL. Okay, any questions here? Okay, so if you don't have any questions, let me go to the next one. So next one is this. It's about subquery. So subquery is this. So when you design a query, basically you are using the result of one query and you are putting that into another query. So that's our concept of subquery. So basically, if you read this, basically it says query multiple tables by nesting of selected statements together and search the result table from another selected statement. So basically, earlier, if you remember correctly, so we are able to get some results from the query statement, and you use the results and you put that into another query. Then we are able to create the subquery. So the statement will look like this. So we have the main query here. So we call this as main query. So select column from table where, and we specify we specify a condition. And when we specify condition, we specify column and conditional operator, and we usually should put a value here, right? Qualifier, and that qualifier is a result of another query. So we put subquery here. So subquery, you start from the parenthesis and you have to end with the parenthesis. And inside you put the same thing, select from where statement. So the result of this query will be used as a qualifier for the main query. So that's the main concept of subquery. So again, for this, if you want to understand this concept better, and if you want to know how this works, you have to look at the example and you have to try by yourself. So here I put one example here. So let's say that we want to list all the parts, basically all the products whose unit price is greater than the average price of all the products. So we have multiple products in the parts table, and we are able to calculate the average. And any product whose price is bigger than average price, we want to know what is that product. So there are two things we want to design. So first of all, list all parts whose unit price is greater than something. So this is main query, because we want to know the main results from this query. So it's the main query. And here, greater than the average price of all products. So we don't know this information yet, right? Because our database system does not store this information, but we are able to calculate this information by utilizing aggregation query. So this is our subquery. So something we need to calculate for the main query. So based on that, we can design the query for this question. So first of all, we start from the main query. So we want to list all parts. So select everything. So we want to show everything, which is from the part table, of course, whose unit price is greater than something. So where we specify the condition. Condition is that the unit price of the product should be greater than something. And then we design subquery now. So subquery is about the average price of all products. So we start with the parentheses here, and we have to calculate it by using select statement and using aggregation, which is average of unit price from part table. So that's it. So close parentheses and close this query with a semicolon. So basically, that will be the answer for this exercise. So this part is for the subquery, calculating the average price of all products. And this part will be the main query, listing all parts whose price is greater than the result of the subquery. So in MySQL, we can type this like this. So select everything from part where unit price is greater than to the tab and subquery, which is select average unit price from part and close the parentheses and close the query, finish the query with a semicolon like this. So that's it. So if I click lightning icon to perform the query, here is the result. So we have a three products basically, which has a higher price than the average of all the products. So stove is here, unit price is 402, washer and bike. Yeah, their price is more expensive than the average basically. So that's it. So that's how you can utilize the concept of subquery. Okay, so the next thing is this. So far, all the things we talked about is basically the retrieving information. So we use the select query, right? So select query is basically retrieving information stored in the database system. So we want to read and we want to show some information which already inside in the table, then we can use the select statement. But there are other statements too, something like this. Yeah, something like insert statement. So earlier when we tried to add data into our table, the MySQL automatically converted what we want into SQL, and then we click next or something like that. In that case, they show the insert into query, basically insert into statement. So if we want to add new data into a table, you can simply use insert into statement with this format. So insert int and specify the table name which you want to add data, and inside the parentheses, you specify all the columns which you are going to put data into, and use the values statement. And here, inside the parentheses, you put the value which corresponds to each column. So value 1 will be added into column 1, value 2 will be added into column 2, like that. So sometimes the table have multiple columns, and you may not want to add data into all the columns. So some columns you may want to left it empty. In that case, you simply skip that column name here. Then that column will be left empty when the new data is added into the table. So I'm not going to show you too much details about this here, but you can try it. You can try it by yourself. Right. Yeah, and then there's also update statement. In this case, you want to change the values in the listed columns of the specified table, then you can use the update statement. So if you use where clause together, only selected rows will be updated, And if you don't use where clause, all rows will be updated. So let's say that in the table, you have multiple data already inside, multiple rows of data already inside the table. And if you use where clause, you can specify a certain load which matches my condition should be updated. If you don't use where clause, everything will be updated. So you have to be careful when you use update query, because once the update is made into the database, there is no going back. So it's not like a Microsoft Word where you make some change, and if you want to go back, you can click undo button, right? But in the database system, it's the database server basically. So if you make a change into the server, that changes will be permanent unless the database administrator backs up regularly and roll back their server. If there's any problem, they can do that. But otherwise, the changes you make will be permanent. So you have to be careful when you update or delete data from your server. So the syntax of update statement is like this. You specify update statement, and you specify the table you want to update, and you specify the set. And here, you specify the column you want to update and the value you want to update it into. And on the where statement, you can specify the condition. The next one is delete. So you may want to remove some information from your table when a certain condition is satisfied. So syntax is this. You can specify delete from and table name and specify where statement. And here you can tell which condition you want to apply. So again, be careful with delete, because once you make changes, it cannot be undone. So if you delete something important from your server, yeah, it will be gone basically. So let's look at some examples. So let's look at one example of the update query. So let's say that we want to make a new field, order total, in the order table, and we want to update this field with the total price of each order. So let's do this together. So the first one we want to do is this. So we want to, basically what we want to do is we want to make a new field inside the order table, and then we want to use that field to save information about the total price of each order. So currently we don't have that field. So let's go to the order table first here. So in the MySQL, all the table will be listed here under your database. So under order system database, we have a multiple table. And for order table, currently it contains order number as primary key, order date as attribute, and customer number as a foreign key like this. So we have this information. And if you want to add an additional attribute, there are two possible ways. You may go back to your model and you can update model and you can do synchronization. But this time, let's go to the simple way, because we want to do it quickly. If you want to do that, you can also update the design of a table inside the MySQL too here. So you can right click on the order table here. So right click on the order table, and here there's this option called the alter table here. So right click on the order table, then you can find in the middle there's the alter table option. So let's click it. So let's click alter table. And then here you can change the design of your table. So let's simply add one more field. So double click here in the last column, and I add one more field, which is order underline total. And then data type, it's a character, but it should be number that may include decimal points. So let me change into double. Let's choose double here under data type. So I choose double like this. So after you update the design of your table, after you update it, you can go here and you can click apply button. So if you don't click apply button, the change will not be reflected into the server. So if you want to do that, click apply button. Then it says the alter table like this. Okay, click apply, and it's done, and click finish. So after I close this, if I click order table again, then now you see that under order table, it's designed like this. There's an order underline total field, which is set as a double data type like this. Okay, so we made a new field, but the field is currently empty, right? So we have a multiple order information in our table, but all the order total field is empty because we didn't put anything yet. So if I right click on the orders, and if I click select row, I see that order total field is all null because there is no information. So let's design this query to put some information in that field. So we already made a new field, and now we have to update. We have to update the order total with the total price of each order. So let's design the query for that. So it's update. So we can use the update query. First of all, we have to specify the table. So orders table we want to update. And what we want to change, use the set statement and specify specify the column name which we want to update. We used order underline total. So we want to update this into something. And this something is total price of each order. So we have to calculate this information. So this one we have to use the subquery. So this will become subquery. So how to calculate total price of each order? So you have to think about the relational model, how our database is designed. So we have a orders table, and we had part table. And between we have order line table, which is assignment table of these two. So it's a one-to-many relationship, right? So one-to-many, something like this. So basically, the concept is this. There are multiple order one. There are multiple order like order one, order two, order three, and there are multiple products, part one, part two, part three, something like this. And each order may include multiple products, and each product may be included in multiple order. So order line table will do assignment basically. So inside the order line table, we have information, something like order one includes product one. The quantity was like 3, and the quoted price was like $100, something like that. And also order one includes part 2, 5 of part 2, and the quoted price is 20, something like that. So we had this kind of information. And if you look at the order line table, these are fields, right? So this column was order number, and this column was part number, and this column was number of order, right? So how many that product we ordered, and this column was quoted price. Quoted price. So how to calculate the total price of each order? So for each order, for O1, there are 2 products. Then we have to sum up for each product. So we have to sum up number of order multiplied by quoted price across all the parts included in each order. So basically, total price of each order is this formula. So summing up all the products in the order, let's say I for each product, and then we have to calculate number of order multiplied by quoted price, like this. So we have to calculate that information to come up with the total price of each order. So here, subquery, we can design like this. Order total should be subquery. So we start with the open parenthesis, and it should be select. So here, the summation is first, right? So sum, and summing up what? Order line tables, number of order, and multiplied. So this is a multiplication sign in the SQL order line dot quoted price. So that's calculating this mathematical formula basically. So we put that there from, and all the information is stored in the order line table. So we specify order line table here, where and also specify that we only calculate this information for I, which belong to the same order. So belong to the products in the same order. So basically, we use the where statement here, and orders that order number should be same as order line that order number, and close parenthesis to finish this subquery, and put the semicolon to finish this entire query, like this. Basically, the last part is this. So we are updating orders, right? We are updating orders table. Then in orders table, for each order number, order number should be same in the order line number, order lines order number. So for each order number, basically for each order inside the order table, we are updating order total information. And when we calculate this aggregation, basically this part is for this one. Basically for order one, we find the matching order one here, and then we calculate this formula, and then update order total for that order number with this information. So let's try this in the MySQL first. Let's put it here. So we use update orders and set order total field, and it should be subquery some order line dot number of order multiplied by order line dot quoted price from order line table, which is assignment table, and where orders order number. So in the assignment table, when we calculate this number, we want to calculate based on those matching order number, like this. That's it. So after type this, if you click lightning icon, the result will not be shown because there is no result to display. We didn't use a select statement. We used the update statement, so nothing to display. So result will not be shown here. However, if you look at the bottom here, there will be message, right? So here there's a green icon. Basically, the query is performed correctly. Then you will see green icon here. And then it says update this query is performed, and 7 rows affected. Basically, there were 7 changes. So we have basically 7 orders in our order table, and all of their order total is updated. So if you go back, if you right click on the orders table, and if you click select row, then you will see that here all the order total information is updated correctly. So order number 12489, its total price is 164.45, something like that. So that's it. Okay, any questions here? So it looks complex, but I think as long as you do more like practice and exercise, you will get more familiarized with utilizing SQL. So at first it might be complex because, for example, for this query, there are a lot of things going on. So we have to think about subquery, we have to think about aggregation, we also have to think about update query. So there are 3 things going on, but you will get yourself familiarized with more exercise. And also, one thing I want to mention is this. So sometimes when you use update query or delete query, if you don't use a where statement, the MySQL may give you an error and saying that your query cannot be performed or something like that. It's because there is a safe lock in the MySQL. So if you go here under file, let me see. Oh, I think it's here. Let me check it first. Oh yeah, here. So so let me think about some example. So let's say that, so in our customer table, let me see. Yeah, let's say that in the customer table, we want to, so we have a customer address here, right? So let's say that we want to delete all the customer address. So we don't need to do, but just as an example, so we want to delete all the customer address. Then we may design query something like this. So we use the delete query. So delete. Let me see the syntax first. So for delete query, the syntax is like this. So we can use the delete query and use from and specify the table. So customer table. Oh, so not the delete query. So delete query is actually deleting the data, not the deleting the record, not each column. For this one, we'll use update query actually. Yeah. Update query and customer. Yeah. So if we want to change the customer or customer's address into to something like a space or something all together, then you can do something like this and set customer address into not available or something like that. And we may finish it. So if we don't use where clause here, if we don't use where statement, then all the customer's information will be changed into NA. So if I try to run this, so let me change this first. So by default, the safe update is checked on the SQL. So if in that case, if I try to run this, so for me, yeah, it works because yeah, after changing this, I have to restart. But yeah, anyway. Yeah, so if I run this query, it works. So you can see that there's green icon here. There's green icon, and it says 10 rows affected. So if I go to the customer table, I can see that all of their address is updated into NA. But in some cases, if you try to run this query, it may not work because there's a safe update function turned on. So when basically what it means is that when you are trying to update too many information without where clause, the MySQL will think that you are doing something wrong because too many informations are updated. So it's a kind of a dangerous situation. You may lose some important information. So MySQL will say that, so if you try to run this query, the MySQL may give you an error. However, if you really want to run this query and if there's nothing wrong with this query, then what you can do is that you can go to the edit menu here on the top. So here, edit menu on the top. And there is this, under edit menu, there is this preference option here. So you can click that preference. And here on the left sidebar, there's a second one is SQL editor. So you can click that, click this SQL editor. And if you scroll down here, on the last part, there's this option called the safe update. So it says reject, update, and delete with no restriction. So basically, if this box is checked, it means that MySQL will not let you run any update or delete query when you didn't use where statement. If this box is unchecked, you are able to perform any update or delete query even though there is no where statement. So you can simply uncheck this box for the practice and exercise. You can uncheck this box and you can click OK, and you have to restart your MySQL workbench so that the change is reflected on your system. And then you're able to perform this kind of query. So that's something I want to mention, just in case if you see an error when you try to perform the update or delete query. Okay, so that's it. So that's all about update, delete, insert into query. Yeah, the next thing, so we have time, so let me cover this. The next thing, the query editor. So okay, so where is the query editor from? Okay, so again, so here on the edit menu on the top here, there is a preference. So how should I show this? Yeah, so basically here on the edit menu, right? Edit option on the top, there is a preference option here at the end. So edit menu and preference. And if you go there, here, the second option here is a query SQL editor, not the query editor, SQL editor. The second one, SQL editor. So click this. So this one, SQL editor, not the query editor, SQL editor, second one. And then if you scroll down here, the last one is a safe update. This one, the last one is a safe update. So under SQL editor, the last one is a safe update. Make sure that this box is not checked. So there should be nothing here. So if you check, if this is already checked, make sure that it's unchecked. So make sure leave this box empty and you can click OK. And if you restart your MySQL workbench, then you are able to perform any update or delete query without a where statement. So that's it. So yeah, if you have any other questions, please let me know. The answer for exercise. Oh, where did it go? Yeah, I'm not sure what happened here, but okay, let me. But I think I should have a query designed here. Oh yeah, here. Yeah, this one. Yeah, I remember I wrote down a lot of things here, but it looks like there was some problem in the PPT file. Okay, so this is the answer for this exercise S. Okay, you may take a screenshot or something. Okay, so let me go to the next one then. Okay, so the last one I want to talk about is a trigger. So let me zoom this up. Okay, so trigger. I'm not going to, actually for the test or for assignment, I'm not going to give you any question about trigger because it's more complex, but I just want to mention about it because trigger is also very important functionality you may utilize in the practice. So I want to mention about it so that it is good to have an idea about trigger. So in the future, when you need to use it, you can search it much easier and because you already have an idea. So trigger is basically this. It's about specifying an automatic process when a certain event occurs. So you are making the things automatically happening. So basically, when a certain condition met, you can specify a certain automatic process to occur by itself. So for example is this: when the new data is added, you may ask MySQL to update aggregated information. So something like this: when a new order, when a product is added into an order, you may ask MySQL to update total price of order automatically. That's an example of trigger. So you can design that kind of automatic process in the MySQL. So it is actually quite useful, and in practice it's used a lot. So that's why I want to mention about it. So to create a trigger, basically you have to specify the timing, whether it will be happen before or after. So if something is updated, it should be updated before something happens, or it should be updated after something happens. So you can specify the timing, and you have to specify the event. So what would be done? So whether you want to insert the new data, whether you want to update something, whether you want to delete something. So you have to specify the event too. So the function is this: you specify the create trigger, and here you put the trigger name, and then you specify before or after. Basically, you specify the timing here. So timing, and you specify the event basically. So what event happens? Like this. So in this case, basically what it's saying is that the trigger will be created and trigger will be performed when after something is inserted on this table, then this trigger will be open. Yeah, basically work. And then you specify for each row. So here, basically for each of the new information added into table, what you would do, you specify the SQL. So here in the SQL statement, you specify the automatic process. So that's basic formula of the trigger. So I have one exercise here. This is the last one today. So let's do this together. So let's say that we want to design a trigger that updates order total field whenever new order information is added. Then you can design this trigger. So you can start from create trigger, and I have to specify the name of the trigger. So let's just say that the name of the trigger is update order total, something like this. So let's say that that is my trigger's name, and I have to specify the timing and the event. So when new order is added, right? So basically, and when the new order is added, after that we have to update the total information. So timing is after, and new information is added, which is insert on table order line in this case. So I use the order line because for each order there might be multiple products, and whenever a product is added into order, basically in the assignment table, I want to update the total. Then I can use after insert on and the table, I can specify order line. So whenever new information is added there, I update this field and specify and put the for each row statement. And here now we determine what kind of a process should be performed. So the process should be performed is update. So we want to update order table. Basically, we are going to put the query which is very similar to what I showed earlier. So we have to update the order table, and in that table we have to update this field called order total, and order total should be updated into the sum, basically the total price of order, which is the aggregation function. So we use the subquery and select sum order line dot number of order. Basically, this is what we designed earlier, multiplied by order line dot quoted price, like this. And from this information to calculate aggregation function is also in order line table, where orders dot order number. So we designed this earlier. Should be same as orders. Order line dot order number, and close this subquery. So basically, order total will update it based on this aggregation subquery. And the last part, we specify one more thing because when we update this, so when this automatic process happens, we are going to update it, and we will only update for the new information, right? So when the new product is added into a certain order, we need to update order total for that order only. So we specify that whether new dot order number should be same as orders dot order number, and finish the query. So the last here there is something new you didn't see it before. This is new here. So basically this new represent new data. So basically we are saying that this trigger will perform this query whenever new data is inserted on order line. So new refer to that new data added. So we specify that with the new instead of the table name like this. So let me type this here in the MySQL here. So basically I'm going to utilize this query. So basically I'm going to make a trigger. So create trigger update order total after time is after, and the event is insert on order line. For each row, basically we are going to update, right? So we are going to update order table, and order total should be updated based on this formula we specified. And one more condition where the new data's order number should be matched with the order number in the table. So only for that order, we are going to update order total like this. Yeah. So that will be the trigger we can design for this exercise. So let me click the lightning icon and let's just see what happens. So if I click lightning icon here, so nothing happens, and the new message will be shown at the bottom here. So the new message is this. So here, yeah, the green icon, so it's done correctly. The trigger something is made, but nothing is affected now, right? Because it's trigger. So we have to give a certain situation to make this trigger works. So how to check where this trigger is? It's here. So we made this trigger update order total with that name on order line, right? So it is here after insert on order line. So you have to look at this table. So here under order system database, we have order line table. Let's open that. And under order line table, there are multiple things here. So there's a column, index, foreign key, and trigger. So there's a trigger, right? So click and open the trigger. So if you open trigger here, you can see that there's an update order total trigger added here. So basically, when you create a trigger in the MySQL, this trigger will be added where you specify the event. So we specify order line. So our trigger is added into order line table, basically. So later, if you want to delete it, you can right click on trigger and you can delete it in that way. So I'll tell you how to delete it later. So let's just see how this trigger works. So to check that, let me go to the order table first, right click on it and click select row. Then we have this information in the order table. So for the order 12489, the the current order total is 164.45. So let's add a new product into 12489 and let's just see whether this order total will be updated automatically. So let me go to the order line table, right click on it and click select row. So this is the order line table. So for product 12489, currently there's this product AX12 and this product and this product. So there are multiple, oh no, there's only one product AX12. So let's add a new product. So 12489. Let's add CG81. Let's say that 100 we ordered to see the change more dramatically. And each product price is $100 like this. So basically, I'm going to add a new product into order 12489. And then new product is CG81. And I ordered 100 quantity of that product. And each unit price, each quoted price of each unit is $100. So basically, after adding this, the total price of order 12489 should be increased by 10,000. So let's just see whether that works. So type this. And then after type this, click apply button. Okay, so this query will be performed. Click apply and click finish. Okay, so now it's updated. So now you see that there's this one added here. And let me go to the, and after that, let's click this refresh icon first to make sure everything is refreshed. And then go to the order table, right click on it and click select row. And then you will see that the order total, I didn't change it, but now it's updated. Now the order total of 12489 is more than $10,000 basically. So basically, we know that the trigger is performed correctly as we want. If we want to remove a trigger, so let's say that I have this trigger here, but if I want to delete it later in the future, then I can simply type something like this, drop trigger, and the trigger name update order total like this. Then this trigger will be deleted. So let me try. If I click this writing icon, yeah, it says drop trigger. There's green icon, so it's performed correctly. If I refresh it here, then now there is no trigger in the order line table. So if you want to remove trigger, you can use drop trigger statement.